Welcome to But Jesus Drank Wine.
And other stories that kept us stuck. I'm Mead.
And I'm Christy.
And in this podcast, we'll explore the stories that kept us, stuck, wanting to drink and not wanting to drink all at the same time.
Join us as we show you that freedom from alcohol does not have to mean a life sentence of misery and missing out,
but actually means living an authentic life full of peace, joy, and purpose.
Hello, my friend. We have a very special episode for you today. This is Christy. I have asked some of my early readers of Love Life Sober, a 40-day alcohol fast, to just come and hang out with us and talk to us about the book and what they loved about it and why it's different than other books out there of the Quitlet variety. These gals haven't been prepped or anything like that. I didn't send them any questions ahead of time. I just really wanted to hear what their reactions were after reading it. And I really hope you enjoyed this episode. I could tell you all about the book I wrote, but I thought it would be more meaningful coming from the gals that have read it, that let me know that it has impacted their life. Without further ado, here's our episode for today. Hello, friends. Happy Monday. We have a really special episode for you today because I have asked some of my favorite people onto the pod to talk about my book, Love Life Sober, because I didn't want to tell you about it. I wanted these gals to tell you about it. And I had the opportunity to just pick some really special early readers, and they all gave me feedback. Some of them read it as I was writing, and I'm just so grateful to all of you for that. And so, yeah, I just want to hear what you guys thought of the book and what you liked about it and all the things. So, yeah, I'll just open it up.
I'll start. Christy, amazing book. And I'm going to get emotional now. I just kept thinking, because it'll be 3 years for me this September 14th when I stopped drinking. And I would just write in my journal. And I so wish I had something like this, because I would look up scripture and try to reinforce why I was making this choice. And you've done it in every chapter. And it's just such a beautiful resource. And I know it's going to bless and help many. So I just think it's amazing.
Oh, thanks, babe. Can you tell the people a little bit about you? Maureen's episode is such an incredible, beautiful story. But will you tell everyone just a little bit about you, just really quick?
Sure. Through a coaching program I went through and stopped drinking alcohol, I was so motivated to help others. I've always been a fitness kind of coach person. So I also became a coach. My business is called Sober Fit Chick Coaching. And I went through a lot of depression and anxiety. So a lot of these chapters in here are so important about women who are drinking when they're grieving or sad. I did that and I didn't realize how it was actually deepening my depression, not letting me process grief, not move through grief. I was staying stuck. So I was stuck for years, but I'm happy to say, like I said, I'm almost 3 years now alcohol free, and God has changed my life. But when in my drinking, I would pray, of course, let me learn how to moderate. Literally in my journal one night, I was like, please let me have 2 white wine spritzers, God. That didn't happen. But he was always saying to me, I have so much more for you. This thing that you're doing is holding you back from relationship with me and from growing and purpose. And I've just seen that over these last few years, my life change and opportunities change and my relationship with God and my faith grow. And so it's made all the difference in the world, leaving alcohol behind.
Thanks, babe. Yeah, so Maureen and I were in the same cohort for our training, for one of our training programs. And I just remember when I first started coaching gals and I would get like a Christian gal in front of me on the other side of the Zoom screen, I would start with recommending all the Quitlets that we've all read, but then also trying to find a Bible study that would somehow incorporate what we were also chatting about. And so that was when God gave me this idea of why isn't it one resource? And so that's what I tried to do is break this into a 40-day journey and incorporate the neuroscience, and which is, I think, been so pivotal for all of us on this call, but also scripture, because self-help is not enough, right? So yeah, what else stood out to you gals?
I just want to say one more thing too. They're
Yeah.
finding more and more science in the Bible back each
Yeah.
other up.
Yes.
you've done here is you've brought the science and the biblical together. So good.
Oh, thanks, babe. I so appreciate you. Yeah, and all of the like all of the main, I feel like science and all the main kind of, I think, self-helpy stuff that has resonated with us. It cracks me up because it's all actually in the Bible. Like all the stuff that really has hit home, I think for a lot of us, it's like actually there, and we just sometimes, or at least for me, I got to it backwards a little bit sometimes. Yeah,
I chime in.
of course you can.
I'm so happy for you. I'm so proud of you.
Oh, thank you, my friend.
What I wanted to say was so I drank for 20 years. And in my experience, when you decide to take a break from alcohol, whether it's a long break or a short break or dry January or Lent or whatever, like in my experience, it generally goes two ways. And the first way is it's a success and you stop drinking for a month and you succeed and you kept the promises that you made to yourself. And you basically, after that, go back to business as usual because you think you have everything under control. The other way it can go, and I have experienced it this way too, is that you fail and you decide to take a break from alcohol and you end up drinking before the month is out and you didn't keep the promises you made to yourself and you feel worse than you did before, but at least you can drink again and you try to move on and you'll deal with this down the road. Your book, I think, offers a third way that I don't think everyone knows about because taking a break from alcohol can be really daunting. It was for me anyway. And I was always like, there's always someone's birthday around the corner. There's always a dinner party. There's always a holiday. There's always something. And your book, I think, is going to allow women who want to take a break and who might be nervous about it to break it into like bite-sized chunks. Like each day, these short readings give you just a little bit of gas in the tank to take this big scary thing and make it manageable, if that makes sense. And another thing I was thinking, even if you end up drinking, even if you pick up this book and end up drinking during this 40-day fast, I can guarantee you that you're going to learn something from this book. It's like an absolute wealth of knowledge. And I applaud you for that. And for readers, that knowledge can't be taken away from you, even if you're not ready to walk away from alcohol for good. In that sense, I think thinking of the book, even if you end up drinking on day two, it's going to be a success, no matter what. I, I almost like when I was thinking about this, it's almost like reading the Bible. No one sets out to read the Bible cover to cover in one day. That's like impossible, especially if like you're trying to learn how to understand it. And that's one reason I think Tara Lee Cobbles' Bible recount is so popular because it takes this big daunting thing and breaks it up into manageable pieces. And like your book, it points you to God, even when it's not clear what God is trying to tell you in the process. The last time I decided to take a break from alcohol, and that was over 2 years ago now, I honestly didn't have the benefit of your book. It wasn't published yet. But I had you, and I know everyone who is out there listening that Chrissy made for me all the difference. She held my hand. She showed me what freedom from alcohol looked like, and she helped me get there. And I'm just so excited to see what your book is going to do in the world.
Oh, thank you, my friend. That means so much to me. So much to me. But you reminded me too of something that I wanted to like make really clear at the beginning of the book, and that is that this is a 40-day fast. But just like Lauren said, if you drink on day two, that doesn't mean you have to go back to the first day. It doesn't mean you have to stop. And it definitely doesn't mean that you failed. It just keep going. And even if you have less alcohol days, then that's a win. And that you learn something, then that's a win. So thank you. I appreciate you.
Lauren, I feel like you agree with what you said and to echo that. Christy, I felt like your book could give me grace when I couldn't give it to myself. And I didn't have it either when I started this like a year and a half ago. But you could just say things to me in that book that I couldn't have believed myself. And that's what your podcast did for me when I found that. But there's so much grace in it. And it's like Lauren said, it's daily. You don't have to have it all figured out. You don't have to know who you're going to be at the end of 40 days. You just have to take whatever that day is going to bring for you and learn something from it. I think really hard to do for yourself when you don't have any experience. All you know is your failures. It was just so nice to hear encouragement and not necessarily need to know what the end was going to look like. It just was nice to have a friend along on the process. That's what I felt when I read your book. I would have loved to have it to go along with the podcast sooner, but I agree. I'm so excited to see what it's going to do for whoever wants to read it. I didn't have any of that at the start. And I can't believe how different that would have been to know it's not just me and I'm not the only one that feels this way and feels so stuck. Can't wait to see what it's going to do.
Thanks, babe. Thank you. And I feel like I don't want this feels like there's a lot of just like love coming at me, and you guys know I'm a crier, so I'm not gonna cry. But I just also want to say that this is so not all me either. This is so all God. This whole thing, even from the very beginning of I had the idea and I was like desperately trying to find a literary agent, and I didn't realize, which is such a silly thing to say now, but I didn't realize that I actually really needed non-drinkers in it for every part of my team, right? Because they had to get it. And some gal heard me on a podcast and sent me an email and said, I have a literary agent for you, and her name is Mary, and I'm going to put you in touch. And I had at that point sent out, I don't know, 50 of the query letters with my idea, and a couple people came back and was like, "Oh, your audience is not big enough." And then I got, "We're definitely not touching this subject in the church with the 10-foot pole." But God has just orchestrated the whole thing. So I just so appreciate you guys saying it. But this is, and all of your stories, and, and some of your stories are in there. You know who you are. But just the fact that we're all here together is so all Him. So it's, yes, my name is there, but this is not about me. And that's amazing. And I'm so glad that it's not about me.
Just quickly though, can we talk about how cool it is what God has done with you and through you with sobriety? So I started following Christy on Instagram in like 20,
The very beginning.
you weren't sober yet.
Yeah.
And I was following this like posh because we have a mutual friend. And I'm like, who is this American in London living this extreme glamorous life, and just started following her. And I was having my own battles, internal battles mostly with alcohol. And then she starts posting all this sober stuff. And I was like, oh, okay. All right. And we've been talking for a while. And then all of a sudden it turned to God and sobriety. Wait a second. But it is. It's just so amazing what he's done through you and what you've opened yourself up to because I'll been awake to certain things and prayed for the things that's come. It's so amazing. I saw Maureen held up her book. I know this is for the listeners. And I thought I was like such a scholar with my notes, and but Maureen's is all tabbed and color coded. Look at that.
I know.
Um, and I love that. It's speaking to me very much, Maureen. But it's such a neat book. And I've read when I first did my battle with or my first alcohol-free journey was in 2021. And I did 100 days. And I think it was Lauren who said, I was like, look at me, I'm great, I'm cured, I can moderate now. And I had that same prayer that Maureen had. I was more of a red wine girl, but I wanted to be able to drink just a couple, and I read the This Naked Mind, which I loved. I love the science. That really, again, being a scholar, I nerded out with that a bit, and really that spoke to me, understanding what physiologically happens inside of you and how your body changes with alcohol and what it does to you really resonated. But then I wasn't really sticking still. And I've tried the other things and tried different books. I've been alcohol free for almost 6 months now. And wow, thank you. Wow, I feel like you put everything in here. And it's when I'm deep in the beginning of my hopefully my last, jaunt into alcohol freedom, I found that I wasn't in my Bible as much because I was reading so much quit lit, which was good for me, but it was pulling me away from the word. And I loved that this got me back into my Bible. So I like read these simultaneously. I have my Bible next to the book, right? Because I like marking my Bible up. And I thought that was so neat to have something bring you back into the word with also resonating with your health and freedom from alcohol journey. And I don't know, are we allowed to read any of this or is it all like super secret?
No, go for it. I love it.
So I have a couple of things, and I know I messaged you after one of them. I was like, "Oh my gosh, this is me," and it was the mourning your prior self, like the ability to say, "Yeah, I'm sad. That party girl was a lot of fun." We know the reality of it. The reality of it was she was a hurricane, and there were problems, and it was a death sentence. But still, there were moments that were fun, right? And I appreciated the actual recognition of it. Yes, you can mourn it. And then, and early on in the book too, you say, so now I want to turn the question to you. Why did you pick up this book? Is it because you want to sleep better or feel better physically? Are you experiencing unbearable anxiety? Are you starting to wonder, despite the positive propaganda, if alcohol is adding stress to your life, not removing it? Is wine getting in the way of your ability to do your job effectively? And then you said, what would be possible if you stopped drinking? And someone had responded to you, the world would be my oyster. But to all those questions, I just wrote in the margin, yes, which I thought was so neat. And everyone's nodding their head. There's so many different pieces of us, I think, that you've been able to identify and relate with and connect with, then give us a science, and then remind us of the God's word, and then give us a little action to do. I love it. I think it's just full circle and beautifully well done. So that's my monologue.
Thanks, babe. I so appreciate it. So appreciate it. And just has been so fun connecting with you from the very, very beginning.
It has been. Like you, I started following Christy on Instagram months before I ever reached out to her. And what I liked about her account was that, and I think what ultimately drew me to her was that she wasn't angry, she wasn't sad, and she didn't make it look miserable. And that in itself, I think it's unique in this quit lit space. There's a lot of,
Agree.
and
And she was still social, right? She still had a social life, which I was like, oh yes, that's what I want. I want to be able to go out and do these things and still live my life and see how fun it is without alcohol. And you would post too. You'd post the ugly. Like Christmas morning, you're opening presents, your kids are opening presents, and what's in that bag, what's in wrapped behind there because of this, which was a good reminder for us. I know we're supposed to talk most about the book, but I'll share something else that
No, share
about
whatever you want.
Christy and Mead, because not only have they reached out in the larger community, but in the coaching community, because I wanted to find Christian coaches that I
Mm.
could also talk to and work with and have feedback. And so that's been a huge support too. So even inside the coaching community, finding like-minded coaches who, are trying to renew their or back up their coaching with scripture. I was thinking of transform your mind by renewing it every day and reading scripture. So I just so appreciate these two for all the stuff they do on the back end too that a lot of people don't get to see.
It's interesting because AA started as a Christ-based group, right? There's those men had a lot of issues, but they did start faith-based, and then they turned it to be more secular. They had one of their founders added change the word God to or higher power as we see it, something to that effect, which I think is wonderful to open up to try to be as inclusive as possible because their purpose is sobriety, right? Whatever they have to do to get there. So it's really good for a lot of people, but it's interesting reading some of that stuff and saying, no, God is what I need here. God is where I turn my focus to. God is who I pray to. Please wake me up. Get me away from this. Honestly, my prayer was a little darker than that, but half of it was get me out of this. And I think this is just so amazing because for those who do have the faith, or it's somewhere back there, they haven't been to church in years or whatever it may be, but it's there and it's a reminder of how gracious someone kept using the word grace to describe your book. I think it was you, Kelsey, how gracious he is, how forgiving our God is. But it's also, I don't love the self help words like you deserve this. Like, I don't deserve anything. I don't. And anytime I see the word deserve in an advertisement, like it just is so cringy to me. And yeah, we've messed up. Alcohol is a poison. It's an addictive poison. You've come into your own knowledge now of how it's not what it's doing to you and who we are called to as women here of God, and to rise above and to do the hard work and to seek forgiveness where necessary and better yourself and be that example of what it's like to be a Christian sober woman to others and to your family first and foremost. And I just think you do such a great job. And I love that it's 40 days. I love that it's when I told someone, they're like, oh, how biblical. And I was like, funny you say that, actually. It is. And just with the science too, that the time that it actually takes to get alcohol out of your system and then to repair. I'm 6 months in and I'm still like sleep, just making up for the last 20 years of bad sleep. So it's really, it's full circle. And I love the 40 days. I love that you can do it in the morning, you can do it at night, you can spend as much time in it as you want. If you're just want to like, "Oh, I got to do my task," you can get it done in 3 minutes. I just think it's really well done, and I'm excited to see. And I bought a few copies too, mostly because I wanted to get it on your coaching thing that came with. But yeah, I'm excited to share it with others.
Thanks, babe. Mead, I know you have a hair appointment. Would you like to say anything about the book that you heavily contributed to?
I just listening to yeah, just listening to everyone's reflections on it too. And it's just the reminder of like how refreshing it is to be in a space like the one in which we're in with our community and this world where it's not up to us. Like God is directing all of this and the way that he has used your story, Christy, and used my story and brought us together. And then it led to other things collectively. And then with the being with you in the writing process of the book and seeing it when you sent it to me, the manuscript, I was just in awe of what he's been able to do through you and the gift that you have, the gift of storytelling, the gift of being the girlfriend that walking along somebody who the reader who's listening, that's you're the girlfriend that, yeah, I'm right there with you. And doing it in a way that is, I love that someone called this out too. It is joyful to be free from alcohol. Like it's not something we pretend like we're all happy over here and secretly behind the scenes are angry that we can't drink. Like we can if we want to, but we have no desire to. And we are living more into the way God has called us to live, which is where that joy comes from. And that just is what oozes from your book, the authenticity. I hate that word. We need another synonym for that word, but the authenticity that comes in the grace and just it's the book that I wish I had. And now so many others are going to have that experience. Yeah, it's amazing. I love it.
It's beautiful too. I'm so excited too because I have something now to go to my church. She addresses what's God's purpose for you. And I obviously became a coach because I'm like, now I'm going to share the painful, what I went through. Nothing is wasted. And we can all have a ripple effect, coach or not, on our friends, our community. And it's not addressed in the church. And yet many women are struggling with it. And so now I actually have something I can say, hey, look, let's do this 40-day fast Bible
Um,
study, small
mhm.
group circle. So I'm really excited about all the potential.
Buy an extra copy and put it in your church library or several extra copies. And that's what I plan to do because, yeah, having that, just being able to enter in that conversation, that's, I think, the hardest part. And especially for Christian women, it's like the double shame that comes. If you're not supposed to be, people look at you as you're not supposed to struggle with
Mhm.
something. And yet it's no, we, and we all, that's why we all need Jesus. We all do. And the double shame that comes with that. And then now having a way to enter into that conversation in a way that allows for the grace and the joy and the community that comes from it. Yeah. Just entering that conversation. It's huge.
Another useful thing that, well, something you just said made me think about it is you can request your library to buy books. And that might be another way to share this all over the place.
Oh, that's a great point, Lauren.
I do it all the time when I want to borrow a book that my library doesn't have.
That's a great
Right.
idea. Well done.
Mead, I completely resonate though with what you said right there. Hi, I'm Heather, by the way. We haven't met before. But with and Maureen had commented about it earlier too, is that I struggle with pretty heavy mental health. Turns out alcohol's really not good when you struggle with mental health. Weird, I know. So I, for the longest time, and I come from a very well off family. I was raised in the church. From the outside, everything looks perfect. I'm an attorney. I have a great husband. I have two adorable, healthy kids. Life's great, right? Why am I depressed? And that was a cycle. I really start my first big hit with depression came around eighth grade. And then 18, it hit really hard. And then hit really badly again for me in the last year. And it's that you have this internal battle where I'm a Christian, I'm a child of God. What's wrong? Just turn to Jesus. Just turn to Jesus. And sometimes whatever you're doing isn't working. And maybe you're just so lost that you need someone to help you get there to Jesus and also to understand the other stuff, the science, which again, we said is Jesus, but really like understanding, hey, your brain is just wired this certain way. So let's figure out how we fix that wiring or whatever we need to do for that wiring. Understand that pouring gasoline on that fire isn't good for it. And finding a community of women who seem to all have it together too, or in other groups who don't. And just having this mutual understanding of either what mental health or trauma that hasn't been worked through or whatever it might be, and really working on it and understanding that it's more than just about the alcohol, but the alcohol is not helping. And you're finally able to say, I need a break from this, or I just need to get away from this. And I think the book really helps recognize a lot of that. And it goes into her tiny Tinas. I don't know if that was a her thing or a you thing, but they crack me up I like picture this little tiny, you guys know Polly Pockets? Yeah, a little Polly Pocket Tina Turner. Yes, they're the little yes. I always picture a little Polly Pocket as the tiny Tina. And
I
so
love it.
that's what's in my head is a little Polly Pocket, a little tiny Tina of what your task is to do. And one of them, which I still have marked because I just have not candidly had the courage to do yet, is writing a letter to yourself. I wrote a letter to my daughter while I was in treatment. So I went to treatment. I went to rehab 6 months ago. And it was the best thing I could have ever done. I took a break from life. I needed to step away. I was hiding a lot of what was going on with me because I was this person who had it all together. So I did write a letter to my daughter, which just broke me, just asking her for forgiveness of not doing this sooner. She's 7. We're good. I'm glad I'm where I am now. But this letter says to write a letter of forgiveness to yourself. And I don't know if any of you ladies have done it. I haven't.
Yeah,
But you did it?
it's
Oh man.
essential. It's so
What?
good. We learn to extend forgiveness to others, and we forget to extend it to ourselves. God's forgiven us, and if we're not forgiving ourselves, we're not trusting and believing that God is actually Jesus' work on the cross, that He's actually forgiven us. If we're not believing in that forgiveness, so going through the exercise of writing it out and truly accepting it is such a grace and compassion, and releasing yourself from this thing that you're holding over yourself, even though God has forgiven you.
And
That's
isn't
my
that so
take
much
on
of
it.
what a all cycle is that you have the shame and the guilt and you're upset with yourself for all of these reasons or lives that you've gone through of whatever the word trauma is a thing. But then there is people go through really difficult things and maybe you haven't forgiven yourself or even forgiven the person that caused that trauma onto you too. I think it's really neat how this has all of those different things and you go into the mental health and you go into the science of alcohol. I'm still pretty new in this, but the majority of the time I feel so good. It's just been so eye-opening and it's so wonderful to have community based in God too, where you can say that was a God thing. Like it truly was for
Mhm.
me that I finally said to my husband, I need help. I need help. And it was got me praying to God, like, just get me away from this, break me free of the chains of this. And that's what it really is. It is a freedom from alcohol.
Yeah.
And I'll just add to Heather, just because I love this so much. It's like thinking about it, even in terms of like, we all have that desire to, when things are hard, it's like we're wired to not want to have to be in the heart of it. And so for us, alcohol just represents that thing that temporarily helped us numb, escape, or put aside. But everybody has, whether it's our phones, whether it's social media, whether it's work. I mean, there are people that use work as a means for numbing out from the things that they have going on in their life. And so I think it's like also it's just when it's alcohol and it's so we're so conditioned for it to be this like glamorous thing, it's harder to be, I think, where it really does steal from us. We haven't heard from Cassie, I don't think.
Oh, hi, Cassie.
I'm probably a little different place than a lot of y'all.
We love you so much.
Thank you. I love you back. But I wrote on the front of my book, where Jesus said in Mark, let's go to the other side. And I feel like this book is the invitation to go to the other side. And
Look, that got me.
Love that.
I guess right now for me through September is tongues, and then my full intention is to join Christy in the 40-day. But this book is so amazing. I mean, mine is so marked up. I know y'all, and I've marked so many pages. I don't even know where to start to tell you of the parts that I love the most because then I wrote I have little notes everywhere about on page 3. There's a complete sentence. It just goes on and on. And it's just, Chrissy, I just don't know how to tell you. Incredible. It's wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you, babe. Thank you. Thank you. And what we're going to be doing starting September 30th for the gals, first of all, if you pre-order the book, if you order the book, you get an automatic invitation into the But Jesus Drank Wine community, which all of you gals are in, and Heather's going to join soon. And which all these gals are in. And I just want to, someone said, hold your hand through it. And so we're going to do it in 6 weeks. And so we're going to kick off September 30th. You can join at any time. And when you order the book, just make sure to do it through the link on my website and I will send you an invitation to join us. So, yeah, thank you, gals. Thank you for taking your time. I really, really appreciate it. I know how valuable it is. And you're all incredible. And all of your stories have meant so, so much to me. Thank you. Okay.
Have we heard from Sarah?
Oh, I don't know.
No.
Oh, Sarah, sorry. Hi.
What I wanted to say was thank you for letting this community be part of the journey, the path, whatever it is. I just remember the excitement when you were editing, when the cover picture came out. And it was just so nice to be part of this and to now come to where we are. And I'm going to get emotional because you have had such a huge influence on my life. And this is such an important and needed book. And yeah, it's just a thank you.
Thank you, babe. Thank you for being here. I appreciate you so much. I hope you really enjoyed listening to some of my favorite people talk about why they love Life Sober, a 40-day alcohol fast. It is going to be out September 24th. It's coming up. And I'm going to be coaching you through it in the But Jesus Drank Wine community. So all you have to do is head over to the website to pre-order the book. And that is at lovelifesober40dayfast.com. That's lovelifesober40dayfast.com. And I'll also put this in the show notes for you to make it easy. You can order the book there. And then you'll also see a part on the website that says, do your fast with friends. And that is where you can sign up to come and join us in the But Jesus Drank Wine community. You get 3 free months, which is a $72 value, and you get 6 weeks of coaching with me in addition to that. I'm just really excited to bless you. I'm excited to hold your hand. I'm excited to meet you. And if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out, either email or DM, and I'm happy to answer any questions. And I'm looking forward to seeing you September 30th. You can also join at any time. You don't have to start necessarily on the 30th. I know I've heard from some gals that they are traveling and they want to hop in the second week. That is totally fine. All of the calls are going to be recorded and stored in the But Jesus Drank Wine community. So you will be able to watch the recordings of those coaching calls and you can hop in at any time. Thank you so much for listening. Thank you for your support. Thank you for all the messages. And if you think of it, please pray for this book. Please pray that it gets in the hands of the gals that feel alone and that want someone to walk alongside this freedom from alcohol journey with. Thank you for your support. We'll see you next Monday. Thank you so much for joining us again this week. You can find all of our episodes at butjesusdrankwine.com, and be sure to follow us over on Instagram, Love Life Sober, and I'm Not Sober, I'm Free.
To learn more about what we do, you can visit our websites, meethollandshirley.com and lovelifesober.com.
Take a screenshot of this podcast and share it with a friend or two.
And don't forget to subscribe to our pod so you don't have to worry about missing a single episode. And if you love what we're doing, please leave us a review on Apple and Spotify.
This helps more women who are feeling stuck and alone in the overdrinking cycle find hope and encouragement.
Thanks, ladies. We so appreciate you, and we'll see you next Monday.